ASKARI Metals ist einem Explorer, dem die Zukunft gehört. Mit spannenden Lithium-, Gold- und Kupferprojekten in der politisch sicheren Region Australiens hat CEO Gino ein Explorationsunternehmen mit sehr guter Diversifizierung aufgebaut. Seit neuestem wurde auf einem der Projekte auch ein Potenzial für seltene Erden entdeckt, was in Zukunft einen noch weiteren zukunftsorientierten Rohstoff dazu bringen könnte. Erst vor ein paar Monaten hat sich Gino erstmals auf axinocapital.de vorgestellt und über die Ziele der Firma berichtet. Seither hat die Firma mit einem beachtlichen Newsflow auffallen können. Das alles ist Grund genug, dass wir uns noch einmal ein Update von der Firma und von Gino einholen und über die neuesten Entwicklungen sprechen. Gino, it's good to have you here again. I think we just talked maybe 4 or 5 months ago and you gave us a little bit of an insight about what ASKARI is, what projects you have and what you're focusing on. And now, just a couple of months later, you've had an amazing news flow in the past and we've seen a lot of good updates from all of your projects. We have gold project, we have lithium projects, we have exciting copper project, and we may get a rare earth potential on one of your projects. And I think it's a good time to give investors a little bit of an update about what's going on. Maybe you can just, before we dive deeper in, a little bit give us an overview what's happening right now over there.
Sure. Thanks very much, Jan, for hosting me as well. It's a pleasure to speak with you again. So as you rightly point out, ASKARI has been an extremely busy explorer, very active on all of our projects across Western Australia and on the Northern Territory side with Barrow Creek as well. I suppose the most interesting development within the company has been really the rare earth potential at Red Peak. That project was initially acquired by the company in January of this year, and we identified the project based on the number of mapped pegmatites that had been identified previously by Geological Survey of Western Australia. We did a campaign in January 2022, which was based on the hard rock pegmatite potential of rare earth mineralization and founded some very interesting rare earth depositions, including some praseodymium and neodymium as well, which is right now is actually what the US has declared as being a critical and scarce resource. So the next phase of work for Red Peak is to go back into the field and conduct some soil auger programs and really develop that project along further, focusing on the monogranite and the clay-based regolith as well. In terms of, I suppose, thinking down the track and looking at sort of our neighbours to the east at Mount Clare, which is Krakatoa Resources, that gives the reader a bit of an idea of the potential size and scale of the rare earth potential deposit there as well. So the company is very excited by the exploration upside that's presented that project.
Excellent. Do you have a little bit of a time frame for us? How long will it take until we know about more about the rare earth potential?
So we've actually got our program of works, which has been approved by the West Australian Department of Mines. We'll actually be out there in the middle of November conducting a 1,000 sample soil auger geochem program. That program will help us to delineate those areas of broad mineralization. And of course, then the next phase of work from there is to continue to expand the drilling campaigns, given that we're looking at the clay-based regolith and also the monzonite sands. These sit on surface. Drilling campaigns aren't going to be very extensive in terms of the depth of the holes won't be too deep. So you can expect a pretty quick turnaround for exploration activity out there.
Gino berichtet, dass von all den aufregenden News der letzten Monate wohl die Entdeckung eines seltenen Erdenpotenzials auf dem Red Peak Projekt ein Highlight sei. Nun gilt es, das identifizierte Potenzial weiter zu erkunden und dafür werden im nächsten Schritt Feldarbeiten und Bodenproben durchgeführt. Etwas weiter ist ASKARI bereits auf dem Barrow Copper Gold Projekt. Dort hat die Firma erst kürzlich sein Bohrprogramm beendet und erste Ergebnisse veröffentlichen können. Und dazu wollte ich natürlich von Gino wissen, ob das Projekt aus seiner Sicht durch diese Ergebnisse und Bohrungen noch spannender für ihn geworden ist.
So Barrow Copper really is shaping up to be quite an exciting project for us. Definitely this last round of drilling has identified some very nice grade shallow oxide gold ore. We've also been able to close the gap between the Christmas Gift prospect and the Benbur prospect, which has been really important for the company because that'll really stitch together a good sort of 1 kilometre of strike of very contiguous and continuous mineralisation. We've still got one batch of assays outstanding. The company did drill 40 holes, just under 3,000, just under 4,000 metres, I should say. So we've got one further batch of assays to come through. The next part of work there for us at Burracoppin is to take those results and complete the update to the 3D geological model and start to put some resource numbers around that as well, and move that project through to scoping study and start to define some of the economics as well. So very exciting project. Significant upside still remains. There's a lot of drilling to the south that this most recent program identified some very nice high-grade shoots quite close to surface that have to be followed up in future campaigns. But by all means, that the Burracoppin project really is taking some very nice shape for us.
Gino ist selbstverständlich sehr zufrieden mit den neuesten Ergebnissen und berichtet, dass im nächsten Schritt ein 3D-Modell der Geologie angefertigt wird und auch die Nennung einer ersten Ressource auf dem Plan steht. Aber ASKARI hat nicht nur das Burracoppin-Gold-Projekt, sondern ist auch auf dem Springdale-Kupfer-Gold-Projekt sehr aktiv. Dort wurde schon früher Bergbau betrieben und ASKARI untersucht derzeit die alten Ergebnisse und Abfälle dieser Minen. Denn damals war die Technologie noch lange nicht so ausgereift, wie sie es heute ist. Und deshalb ist zu vermuten, dass bei früheren Arbeiten sehr viel Gold übersehen wurde.
The company's also been active at the Springdale project, which is gold on the New South Wales Lachlan Fold Belt. That program of works really was around looking through the old tailings and the old historic mine sites that are apparent at the project. There's over 36 historic mine workings there at that Springdale. So the company's been there and has taken samples from those mine dumps. We're expecting those results to come back in the coming days. So we believe that project will give us a greater definition for the gold endowment there as well. We'll look to develop Springdale very similar in vein to the way that we've been developing the Burracoppin project, that there's a lot of drilling that can be undertaken quite quickly, looking at, of course, matching up the historic workings and trying to link them together as we have done at Burracoppin. The gold part of the portfolio for the company is something that definitely deserves a lot of attention, and that's something that ASKARI is very much focused on delivering as well.
Okay, perfect. Maybe you can give us one or two thoughts about the gold market in general. I mean, it's pretty tough right now, but you're still having a good gold project in your portfolio. What do you think can we expect on the gold market? Will it go up pretty soon, or do we have to wait? What are your thoughts on that?
I think we are in quite a tricky environment as far as the gold pricing and gold market is concerned. There was, I suppose, generally an expectation that given obviously the political restraints happening in Eastern Europe between Russia and the Ukraine, as well as the high inflationary, high interest rate environment, was going to help to drive the gold price further north. Now, of course, that hasn't happened, and there seems to be a bit of a lagged effect. But what I can say is that on an Aussie dollar basis, the gold price is extremely strong. For us, given the location of Burracoppin in particular, that it's right along strike and next door to the Edna May gold mine, which is an operating mine owned by Ramelius Resources, that gives us some very significant optionality in terms of taking that project into production. The focus there for Burracoppin, in fact, is actually just to develop a very shallow oxide gold resource, and that's something that we hope to be able to deliver to our shareholders before the end of this year.
Gino ist also auch davon überzeugt, dass Gold langfristig eine spannende Anlageklasse ist und bleibt und ist deswegen motiviert, die Projekte schnell voranzubringen. Aber nicht alles, was glänzt, ist auch Gold. Denn auch Lithium konnte in den letzten Monaten mit einem erneuten Boom glänzen. Und auch das ist ein Bereich, in dem ASKARI zufällig in den letzten Monaten mit sehr guten Fortschritten und auch neuen Projekten auffallen konnte.
Sure. So lithium's always been an important aspect for the company in terms of how we govern ourselves from an exploration perspective. The Yarrie project in particular, as you've identified, Jan, is a district-scale opportunity in the Eastern Pilbara. It's an area that hasn't really had a lot of exploration historically, but you're seeing now within the recent 12 months, a lot of activity happening with junior explorers now demonstrating the fertility of those pegmatites in that particular region. The addition of Murners Hill and as well as the Talga East lithium project, we consider those to be an expansion of our Eastern Pilbara lithium portfolio, which includes the Yarrie project as well. We have done some work there at Yarrie since we last spoke and identified 11 prospective targets, of which 5 we rank as being high priority. the company will be looking to mobilize a soil auger campaign out to the Yarrie project across those 5 high priority targets. We've also got a program of works that has been approved now for the Murness Hill property as well. So we'll be out into the field at Murness Hill in the coming weeks. We think it's going to be a perfect opportunity for the company in terms of delivering some further lithium related news for our shareholders. And given the area has demanded a lot of interest from strategic partners, the company is also fielding a lot of inbound inquiries as far as offtake and interested investment parties are concerned as well.
Ich möchte also schon in den kommenden Wochen wieder zurück auf das Yarrie-Projekt gehen und dort 5 spannende Lithiumziele genauer untersuchen. Und natürlich auch das neu akquirierte Tiger East-Projekt könnte der Firma und auch euch als Anlegern zukünftig viel Freude bereiten. Da ASKARI viele verschiedene Projekte besitzt, habe ich mich gefragt, ob der Anstieg des Lithiumpreises und die selbstverständliche Notwendigkeit des Rohstoffes seinen Fokus verändert haben und Lithium vielleicht deshalb auf der Prioritätenliste der Firma etwas nach oben gerutscht ist.
Almost certainly. I mean, there's been a lot more interest demonstrated within the lithium industry, and what we've seen, and most recently, it's been really prevalent over the last sort of 6 months as well, is that strategic investors, large lithium chemical producers, are taking an interest in earlier stage exploration projects, and they're coming down the exploration curve and making investments where ordinarily wouldn't see that. And a lot of that has to do, of course, with locking up security of supply. So the company has actually, as I've mentioned, a lot of inbound inquiries have been made towards the company to look at how we can form partnerships around the existing Australian lithium assets that the company has, which includes the Barrow Creek project in the Northern Territory as well. The other thing that I will say, just in response to the moving lithium price, I can't see it actually declining anytime soon. I think that as you see more and more countries signing up to this decarbonisation and this whole electrification and revolution that it's going to drive to our everyday lifestyles, I think you will see this persistent increase in the lithium carbonate hydroxide and also the spodumene concentrate price. And yes, that definitely affects the company in terms of how aggressive we have to be on the exploration front, and indeed looking at other opportunities on a global scale as well.
Also wie natürlich angenommen ist der Boom von Lithium nicht an ASKARI vorbeigegangen. Und Gino versucht die Projekte noch schneller und noch aggressiver voranzubringen, um eben schnellstmöglich mit der Firma von diesen Ereignissen profitieren zu können. Auch ist er davon überzeugt, dass die Nachfrage nicht so schnell abbrechen wird und Firmen mit vielversprechenden Projekten eine sehr gute Zukunft haben. Es ist in diesem Atemzug vermutlich fair zu behaupten, dass der Anstieg von Lithium auch auf die erhöhte Nachfrage von Elektrofahrzeugen zurückzuführen ist. Ein elektrisches Auto braucht aber nicht nur Lithium, sondern auch 5-mal mehr Kupfer als ein Auto mit Verbrenner. Aber keine Sorge, wie der Zufall das so will, hat auch ASKARI im Bereich Kupfer Projekte, welche dabei helfen könnten, den zukünftigen Bedarf zu decken.
So copper is an important part of the company's portfolio as well. I mean, we have just completed our maiden drilling campaign on the Horry Copper project, which is up in the Kimberley region of WA. That was focused on really drilling beneath those high-grade surface workings that we identified throughout this current calendar year. We're waiting on assay results still to come back from that. We'll probably expect the assays in the next sort of 4 to 5 weeks. And as you mentioned, Jan, we also have just completed a high-definition drone mag survey at the Kallawa Copper project. Now, that project also seems to have demonstrated and some very highly anomalous nickel, cobalt, and chromium results as well. And that's something that the company is going to be following up on in the not-too-distant future. One of the points that I wanted to make as well, since you mentioned, of course, the use of electric vehicles and how copper plays a very important role in that, in the mainstay, particularly as far as charging is concerned and as far as the anodes are concerned. Rare earths also play a very important role in terms of the magnetization of the batteries as well. And so, of course, rolling up with the company with our Kallawa and Horry Copper projects is, of course, Red Peak. So the company, as I mentioned, will be very busy exploring its portfolio in the coming 6 to 12 months as well.
One last question. I think when we first met a couple of months ago, we asked you if you want to focus on gold or on lithium, because you've got a lot of exciting projects on both of those commodities. But now you've got even more exciting projects on even more exciting commodities. Is there any way to say what you want to focus on, or do you still want to focus on all of them and see what's the most exciting thing for shareholders?
So ultimately, and this is something that the company has been working on over the past 12 months, and it's something that will be very heavily focused over the coming sort of 3 to 4 months, is looking at potential demerger opportunities for the company as well. And when I say demerger opportunities, I mean separately spinning out the copper, the gold, and the rare earths potential projects into another listed company that will be majority owned by ASKARI, and then that'll enable ASKARI to focus on its lithium exploration assets. Corporately, ASKARI is also actively and very, very actively focused on expanding its lithium exposure and is looking at a number of advanced projects across the world. Those assets, if the company is successful in making those acquisitions, will form the basis of these demerger discussions and definitely will underpin the spin out of those other assets. So from a shareholder's perspective, it'll enable the investors to see a far more consistent and congruent sort of flow towards how the company is moving forward. And it'll also enable the incorporation of a new entity that'll focus firmly on one part of the portfolio over the other as well.
Zusammengefasst haben wir hier also eine Firma, die nicht nur Gold- und Lithiumprojekte, sondern auch Kupfer- und seltene Erdenprojekte in Australien besitzt und mit Hochdruck voranbringen will. Der Bedarf an Lithium und Kupfer beispielsweise wird in den nächsten Jahren extrem steigen. Und Firmen wie Benchmark Minerals, welche mit einem guten Blick auf den Markt schauen, geben an, dass bis zum Jahr 2035 extrem viel mehr Minen dieser wichtigen Rohstoffe benötigt werden. Zudem soll laut großen Banken der Preis von Kupfer schon 2025 deutlich höher stehen, als es aktuell tut. Ihr wisst, Prognosen sind schwer, besonders wenn sie in die Zukunft sind, aber das gibt eine Orientierung. Auch sind seltene Erden sehr wichtig, um elektrische Autos, aber auch andere zukunftsorientierte Technologien voranzubringen. Wenn ihr mehr zu einer möglichen Knappheit von Kupfer wissen wollt, dann klickt auf dieses Video. Solltet ihr mehr Infos zu seltenen Erden brauchen, dann klickt gerne auf das Video. Und bei Fragen rund um ASKARI Metals und an Gino, schreibt mir diese gerne in die Kommentare und wir versuchen so gut wie möglich darauf einzugehen. Gino wird voraussichtlich in Q2 2023 nach Deutschland kommen. Wer sich also für die Firma interessiert, kann sich schon jetzt auf eine Roadshow einstellen. Wir freuen uns, euch auf der Edelmetallmesse im November zu sehen. Alle Infos dazu stehen in der Videobeschreibung.